The one answer it is a fact that there is only one right answer to existence and infinite wrong answers. As per Leibniz's principle of sufficient reason, there must be a reason why the one answer is right and every other answer wrong. To ascertain the right answer is simplicity itself. We need only appeal to Occam's razor, the principle of ontological economy, of simplicity itself. In all respects, entities are not to be multiplied beyond necessity. What should the fundamental particle of existence be? What is the simplest possible particle? It is, by definition, the point. Nothing can be more elementary than the point, more simple than the point, more economic than the point. So, why would nature use anything else? No matter how much you may rebel against the concept of the universe being made of points, you are wrong. You have violated Occam's razor. Reason refutes you. You do not refute reason. What is the simplest, contained, complete, analytic activity we can perform with a point? We can make it move in a circle. A point moving in a circular trajectory produces a sine wave and a cosine wave, as per this diagram. If your system involves anything different from this, anything more complicated than circular motion, you are wrong. No matter how reluctant you are to accept circular motion of points as the basis of eternal existence, you are wrong. Your reason has failed you. You have invented other answers, wrong answers, answers that are incompatible with Occam's razor. Considerations other than reason have led you to your error. Reason, as the brilliant logician Kurt Gödel pointed out, never errs. You do. You err whenever you reject reason. All deviations from reason are deviations from Occam's razor. Why would nature not at all times do the simplest, most rational, most economic, simplest thing? And why would it not do that exactly, analytically, without the slightest flaw, the slightest imperfection? What possible reason could it have for doing it with flaws? Imperfections, deviations, uncertainties, inaccuracies, errors, miscalculations. Nature isn't messy, humans are. Humans believe nature must be messy like them, but nature is nothing like them. Nature uses perfect language, and humans use man-made imperfect language. That's where the mess is created. The mess and confusion is all in the human mind, not in the world. The answer to existence must reflect the compulsory ground state energy of existence at all times, without any deviation at all. That answer is zero. Perfect zero. There is no sufficient reason for any non-zero answer, especially not any arbitrary non-zero answer. There is a sufficient reason why non-zero answers are impossible. They require something. Zero nothing does not require anything, hence nothing can stop it. There is no force in the universe that can stop nothing, that can resist nothing. If we create a system of something that is also perfectly nothing, nothing can prevent it under any circumstances. Only one system can produce a system of something that is also analytically, perfectly nothing. Mathematics. Why would nature not behave perfectly mathematically? Anything else would constitute a violation of Occam's razor. Nothing is more reflective of Occam's razor than mathematics. Everything else falls foul of Occam's razor. Everything else is more complex than necessary, and, moreover, it is imperfect. Only mathematics is perfect, in the sense that everything can be exactly calculated. Why would nature do complex, imperfect things rather than simple, perfect things? No matter how horrifying it may be to you that nature is actually perfect mathematics, you are wrong. There is no reason why nature would operate non-mathematically rather than mathematically. Go on, try to explain why nature would use something other than mathematics. Give a reason. Contradict mathematics. And thus you will merely demonstrate how irrational you are. No empiricist argument can ever defeat a rationalist argument. No experiment can validly contradict reason. If you believe any experiment does not support reason, you have fatally misinterpreted the experiment. Science continuously misinterprets its experiments by always subjecting them to the fallacious, irrationalist man-made ideology of materialism and empiricism, which never once refers to the PSR and Occam's razor, hence can never be compatible with either of these foundational principles. There is no reason why nature would operate imperfectly and synthetically rather than perfectly and analytically. There is no reason why nature would obey an extremely complex and arbitrary formula, rather than an extremely simple and necessary one, which only mathematics can deliver. The mathematical universe must be stable under every conceivable operation applied to it, such as being squared. This immediately means that we must place imaginary numbers on a par with real numbers and negative numbers on a par with positive numbers. A universe in which every positive real number is matched by an equal and opposite negative real number, and every positive imaginary number by an equal and opposite negative imaginary number, guarantees us a universe of zero at all times. The universe must be maximally stable, and only mathematics can deliver this. It must contain no imperfections. Like a tiny fracture on the wing of a plane, any imperfection would sooner or later prove fatal. This problem is enormously worse with the universe. Any flaw would destroy it instantly. There would be a catastrophic chain reaction of flaws, tearing everything to pieces. In fact, you couldn't get existence off the ground in the first place. The universe must be analytically perfect, i.e., purely mathematical. It is impossible for the universe not to be syntactically perfect, in the sense of everything clicking together without any holes, uncertainties, or contradictions. Apparent imperfection can arise only in the semantic layer, not the syntactic layer. When we apply all of these considerations, we discover that the universe is, by virtue of the principle of sufficient reason and Occam's razor, directed by Euler's formula, the ground equation of existence. Every other proposed solution is false. Science tries to escape the need for perfect zero, perfect stability and perfect syntax by appealing to ontological uncertainty via Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. The uncertainty principle is the most misunderstood principle in physics. When it is allied to zero-infinity monadic singularities in the frequency domain, the alleged uncertainty vanishes. The supposed uncertainty arises from the gross error of accepting only space-time existence and rejecting frequency existence, singularity existence, outside space and time. When the two are mathematically combined, there is no uncertainty at all. There is absolute perfect precision. There is no reason at all for existence not to be mathematical, and every reason why it should not be non-mathematical. Mathematics is ontological reason. Everything else is ontological unreason, i.e., chaos. There are countless reasons why a non-mathematical universe is impossible. Science, to avoid the sorts of considerations we have described here, appeals to the multiverse, the supreme violation of Occam's razor, and thus the most false and wrong idea ever conceived, even worse than God. The multiverse argument attempts to claim that there are infinite universes of every conceivable type, and that we just happen to live in this one, which, praise the Lord, happens to be exactly right for producing people like us. This is therefore the most just so, Goldilocks universe imaginable. How convenient. A miracle. You might as well believe in God. Every single universe in the hypothetical multiverse bar one would in fact be inherently unstable and automatically self-destruct, hence could never actually come into existence in the first place. The only one that would survive is the one that reflects the PSR and Occam's razor, which is the mathematical universe based on Euler's formula, the universe we have just described. So, the multiverse is an incoherent concept. There can only be one universe. After all, that is what universe means. It contains everything. You can't have universes outside universes because then they wouldn't be universes, but some man-made, made-up nonsense. All of the arguments are over. Existence has only one rational, intelligible, explicable answer, and we have provided it. Everything else, including science, is irrational nonsense. The apparent success of science stems solely from the fact that it uses mathematics, albeit a wrong version, hence can't but reflect true mathematical reality now and again in certain contexts and in certain domains of applicability. We have provided sufficient reasons why all other attempted answers to the nature of existence are wrong. Anyone who disagrees with us therefore has a very straightforward task. Using the principle of sufficient reason and Occam's razor, you must show where we have committed an error and where you haven't. Good luck with that. You will find no flaw in our position. But if you apply our considerations to your own theories, you will find endless flaws. Science is a formally irrationalist subject because it rejects both the principle of sufficient reason and Occam's razor. Neither of these is ever referenced in any scientific theory or claim, and both are routinely violated in the most extreme ways, in order to support the irrationalist ideology of empiricism and materialism. Humans err. Reason does not. Any system that is not built on the principle of sufficient reason is ipso facto in error. You have an extremely simple choice. Use reason and be a rationalist, or reject reason and be an irrationalist. Scientists are empiricists. Empiricism, as anyone with any clue about philosophy knows, is the historical opponent of rationalism. Scientists are irrationalists precisely because they accept empiricism and reject rationalism. Many of them make a ridiculous claim that reason and empiricism go together, that reason and the non-rational, fallible, unreliable, frequently delusional human senses are somehow natural allies, rather than bitter enemies. You can be 100% certain that the human senses are not organs of truth. Reason routinely contradicts the human senses. Rather than accept the primacy of reason, scientists believe their senses and reject reason. If they use reason at all, it's to seek to use reason to confirm their senses, rather than the other way around. Empiricism can in some circumstances be used to support rationalism. Rationalism is, however, overwhelmingly contradicted by empiricism. The scientific method is predicated on sensory experiments. The principle of sufficient reason and Occam's razor are not part of the scientific method, which tells you all you need to know about science and its method. The scientific method need not be as it is. Scientific empiricism and materialism could be replaced by scientific rationalism and idealism, which starts from the principle of sufficient reason. Occam's razor is itself simply a logical derivation of the PSR. There is no sufficient reason for nature ever to operate less simply than it can. It would never choose the more complex over the simpler. The scientific method itself is wrong. It is wrong because it is a method designed to support the bogus, irrationalist ideology of empiricism and materialism. It could easily be reformed to support rationalism and idealism, in which case all scientific thinking would undergo a revolution. Completely different conclusions would be drawn about the nature of existence. The ultimate expression of rationalism is mathematics, so any rationalist will conclude that we live in a mathematical universe. Any other universe would not be a rationalist universe, and would signify that rationalism is wrong, which it isn't. It's a bizarre thing, but rationalists actually have to defend reason against an unceasing barrage of irrationalist beliefs and conjectures. One day, no one will ever challenge the PSR. Then we will have entered the true age of reason. Scientists are those who are holding us back. They must capitulate to rationalism and mathematics. They are the architects of the false age of reason, i.e. the age of empiricism, based on the fallible human senses, rather than infallible reason. Compound thoughts. Everything is made of thoughts. Complex thoughts cannot be made of anything other than more basic thoughts. Basis thoughts. Basis thoughts are eternal and necessary atomic thoughts. They combine to form temporal and contingent compound, molecular thoughts. Thoughts have a syntax and semantics. They cannot be made of anything that does not have a syntax and semantics. They especially cannot be made of scientific matter. In ontological mathematics, matter is made of thoughts, mathematical sinusoids, hence inherits their syntax and semantics, hence matter is also thought, despite appearances. According to science, entities without syntax and semantics, material things, miraculously and inexplicably generate minds and thoughts, which subsequently produce languages with a syntax and semantics. That is impossible. Non-languages cannot produce languages, and non-languages cannot interact with languages. Only a universe made of thoughts, made of language, made of syntax and semantics, can be a universe intelligible to minds, explicable by minds, and rational and logical to minds. Only a universe made of language, of syntax and semantics, can have an answer. A mental universe has an answer. A physical universe does not. A physical universe is a permanent mystery. There is an unbridgeable gap between mind and scientific matter. It cannot be explained how mind comes from matter, and how mind can understand and interact with matter, if mind does not belong to the same causal order as matter, or any causal order all. Mind, according to science, cannot cause matter to do anything. Free will, to the extent that it features at all in the scientific view, is uncausal and illusory. The universe must have an inherent syntax and semantics, which means that the universe must be a language. The only eternal, necessary, immutable, Perfect, inherent language is mathematics. Mathematics is the language of nature, of existence itself. It's the language of the mind, and one of its constructs, via Fourier mathematics, is matter. Things are only comprehensible via language. The universe would not be comprehensible without language. A language is structured. Nothing else is. A universe made of non-language would be incomprehensible and chaotic. It would be so inherently unstable that it could not exist in the first place. There would be no structure to support it. A mathematical soul is a living mathematical organism that generates, receives, experiences, processes, interprets and conveys information. Life is exactly what you get when an energy system, i.e. a mathematical system, experiences itself. It experiences the information inside itself, and it experiences the information reaching it from outside itself, from the world. Life simply is the experience of information, and responding to that experience. Mathematical souls are eternal, living beings. Every soul can contribute part of its energy, its information, to a collective pool, and it is this collective pool of energy that we experience as the physical universe. The physical universe is actually a mental hologram produced by the collection of all minds. Humans make judgments based on semantics, on human experiences and interpretations of information. Humans don't care at all about the information carrier until they become interested in how reality actually operates. Stephen Hawking said, "What is it that breathes fire into the equations and makes a universe for them to describe? The fire exists in the mathematics itself. Mathematics is alive. Mathematics is a living, cosmic organism, relentlessly reasoning its way to its optimal state." Independence Day. Hegel said, "To be independent of public opinion is the first formal condition of achieving anything great. Don't believe what anyone tells you. Don't accept anything uncritically." That goes for what we say too. We're not asking you to mindlessly agree with what we say. We ask those of you that are intelligent and open-minded to reflect rationally and logically on what we say, and on what others say. The more you engage in rational and logical thinking, the less impressed you will be by arguments based on the senses and empiricism. The worldview we are presenting contains scientific materialism as a subset, and also answers all of the big questions that science manifestly cannot answer. Our worldview can be formally classified as a religion or a spiritual philosophy, because it is defined by eternal souls. But it does not involve any creator. Abrahamism is nonsense. Most of Eastern religion is nonsense too. The only rational religion is the one that gives rise to science. Only mathematics is capable of producing science.